we shall start the first topic, that is principle of the feeding of dog and cat. So in case of companion animals, okay, their behavior, their happiness, their health, their longevity, and overall well-being are strongly influenced by its nutrition. Dogs and cats present unique challenges to the field of nutritional science. What does it mean? It means that these animals, micronutrients particularly, they play an important role. Okay, even if there is a deficiency of vitamins, minerals, okay, if there is a deficiency of protein, okay, they strongly influence, because all the time they depend on you. Unlike cattle, sheep, goat, pig, they will look for some alternative feed and fodder when you don't provide properly, whenever they get the opportunity. But in case of dog and cat, this is not so, because they are maintained within the house, within the apartment, within the limited area. So whatever you offer to them, only that plays an important role. Okay, this is one point. Second point, there are inbuilt mechanism, which you call it as a metabolic idiosyncrasies, which they equally play an important role with respect to feeding of dog and cat. Means there could be some deficiencies. Deficiencies means there are some amino acids which generally synthesized in the other species, but they may not be synthesized in these animals, dog or cat, whatever it may be. And whatever we call it as a metabolic idiosyncrasies, mostly they are applicable to cat. Because when you say sheep, and the same thing is applicable to goat. When you say cattle, it is equally applicable to buffaloes. But this is not so in case of dog and cat. Okay? Dog may be little bit, you can say the common points or the features may be applicable, but the same features may not be applicable to cat. There are some exceptions. Okay? Call them as a metabolic idiosyncrasies. Okay? This is another point. First point is, since they are dependent on us, and please can you convey to whom someone is kept on, please can you convey?
Yes, sir.
So that is first point. Second point is metabolic idiosyncrasies. Third is, whatever the companion animals we talk of, they are not comparable with the other domestic animals. When you see other domestic animal, means here cattle, buffalo, sheep, goat, and pig. Mostly they talk on the nutrition based on the production performance. Okay, means above and product maintenance ration, we also give the ration required for the production purpose, which generally we don't talk in the company. This is another third point. Fourth is that in the production animals, always we talk about cost benefit ratio. Means if I give 1 kg of concentrate, which is worth of 25 rupees, whether it is worth in getting the sufficient milk, rather I'll put it another word, to get 1 liter of milk, which is worth of 45 liters, how much money I have to spend? If it is more than 45 rupees, there is no fun in feeding the extra ration. Okay, so that we call it as a break-even point. Okay, but such things are not at all applicable in case of companion. You got my point? So these are the 4-5 points which are unique with the companion animals. Rest all they depend on the other factors like stage of life. Like in case of production animals, after some productive lifespan, generally we try to cull them. We try to remove from the flock or herd or from the farm. Such thing will not happen here in case of dog. Till the death of the animal, we have to maintain him. Okay, so that time also nutrition plays an important role. So that's why there is another word called clinical nutrition. In case of companion animal, we call it as a clinical nutrition. Okay, which is not used in case of domestic animals. Clinical nutrition means the nutrients which we provide during the very critical period when animals suffer from the leptospira, when it suffers from the jaundice, when it suffers from the hip dislocation, because they are the diseases which are bound to happen in case of dogs when they cross more than 6 years, 7 years. Okay, that's why nutrition also plays an important role based on the stage of life. Okay? Lifestyle means it could be lifestyle of dog and also it could be lifestyle of owner. Suppose if you take the lifestyle of dog means where dogs are being maintained. Okay, if it is maintained by the police department, their lifestyle is entirely different. More of taking work from them. But the same dog Labrador, if it is kept by the owner who are aged, the requirement is different. Okay, the same dog is maintained by a typical couple, so the work is different. So that's why what is their lifestyle, whether it could be with respect to owner or with respect to dog. It is also quite variable between the individual pets. Like in case of domestic animals, we never talk of feeding animal individually. We always talk about feeding animals in group. But here, since mostly dogs are maintained individually, and you might find some differences between the individuals. What we offer feed to the one dog in your house, the same feed if you offer to another dog, it may not be suitable. Okay, so this is another point. In general, majority of the dogs which are kept in the house as a pet, okay, and there are other who earn or work for the living. So here entirely the difference. Like if you go to village, they don't allow dogs to enter into your house, but they feel or they offer feed only in the morning and evening. The rest of the times they take work from either they will take dogs to their farmyard or you can say to their estate, wherever they go. They try to accompany during day hours, only their feeding time is only in the morning and evening. Okay. So these points what I discussed, it is in general. So now there are some uniqueness with respect to cat nutrition. This question is always expected. I'm trying to cover these two topics, this particular idiosyncrasies of cat nutrition, beginning and in the end. Okay. So let us see. Based on their gastrointestinal system, both cats and dogs should be classified as a carnivores, isn't it? By virtue of their classification, they're supposed to be called as a carnivores. But historically, if you see, dogs have been considered as the omnivorous because of their scavenging nature, hunting adaptation. But cats are always considered as the true carnivores or obligatory carnivores. Means cat cannot be reared without any animal source or as a animal source or protein source. Okay, dogs can be maintained. These differences include that cat's unique energy and glucose metabolism. Many investigations shows that cats are unable to metabolize these sugars in large quantity. Means, like if you take your home, if you are vegetarian, what at the most you can give? You can offer bread, which is energy source. You can give milk, which is energy source. You may give chapati, it is energy source. You may offer some porridge, it's an energy source. It may work for the dog, but not for the cat. So that's why their protein requirement is always high compared to the dogs. Okay, this is another exception with respect to cat. The cat's physiological status, which involves higher protein requirements. In addition to that, they have specific requirement for the diet like taurine, okay, arachidic acid, and also some vitamins. Particularly, if you take niacin, that is also very much important in these animals. Sensitivity to deficiency to the arginine. Arginine is an essential amino acid, non-essential amino acids, okay, which is also very much required for the cat. So now let us discuss in general. So what we talked till now, it is a general. So now we will talk very particular. So now nutrient requirements. So when you say feeding, there are two aspects. One is the nutrient requirements means that how much energy, how much protein, how much fat, okay, how much vitamins, how much minerals to be given in the diet. Method of feeding, how you offer, whether you give in the form of proteins, whether you give in the form of pellets, whether you give in the form of dry feed or liquid form. So that is method of feeding, okay. So now we are concentrating more on nutrient rather than the method of feeding, because method of feeding does not have much role, unlike in case of cattle, sheep, goat, because there our main motive is to offer or you can to encourage the animal to take maximum dry matter intake, isn't it? So that the production parameters as per its capacity is met out, because it has a capacity to give milk 50 liters. but you are unable to provide full dry matter intake. So in that case, even though that is get capacity, but you may not get milk. But such situation does not exist here. So that's why there we talk about bypass protein. Okay, we talk about high density feeds, like we call it as a complete feed. Okay, but here method of feeding generally we don't talk much. Rather nutrient requirement, micronutrients we talk much. Okay, so many factors which influence the nutritional requirements also. There could be age. Okay, physiological growth status, whether it's young, sub-adult, adult, physical condition, activity means here what for it is meant, lifestyle, already told you, health condition, size of the dog, whether small breed dog or large breed or medium size breed. Okay, these are so many influencing factors. Let us take few examples how these factors influence the nutritional requirement. Okay, some of the points I'll read out and then I'll discuss. Heterogeneous anatomical and physiological attributes of different breeds of dogs make breed as one of the most important factors while working out the nutritional requirement. Let us take an example. Nutritional requirement for the Yorkshire puppy, which multiplies its birth weight by factor of 20 in a just matter of 8 months, means in 8 months the growth will multiply 20 times. Naturally, it's a fast growing animal. The mastiff puppy, which multiplies its birth weight by 100 times, okay, before reaching its adult. See the difference between the two breeds. Okay, one is Yorkshire, another is mastiff. Okay, so when there is so much of fast growth is there, so naturally the nutrient requirements or demand for the nutrient certainly is very high in case of mastiff compared to the Yorkshire pup. Okay, other factors like skin, coat, pathological risk, life expectancy, they also matter within the breed. Okay. Suppose some breeds, mostly they are, you can say, fluffy hair coat, thick hair coat, okay, long hair coat. So depending upon that also the nutrient requirements vary. Small breeds are often fussy, means it needs highly palatable diet, okay, when compared to medium, large and giant breed dogs. Means smaller the breed, more they enjoy the palatability. They may eat more frequently. Whenever it enjoys the taste rather than the quantity compared to medium, large and giant breeds. Okay. The digestive tract, which consists of 7% of the body weight in case of smaller breeds, whereas in case of larger breeds, it is 2.7%. Means see the difference. 3 times. Okay. Smaller breeds, the digestive tract is relatively long. In case of large breeds, relatively small. Okay. In small and medium breeds, dogs age are slower and needs to be changed to senior diets at 7 years of age compared to 5 and 6 years respectively. In case of giant, means because of that digestive system. Small breeds needs more calorie diet because of high energy requirements per unit body weight compared to larger breeds. Large breeds are more susceptible for high calcium intake, and because of which they exhibit more skeletal disorders if you don't maintain the calcium and potassium ratio or the phosphorus ratio properly. It is not what we give, but rather it is absorbable calcium and phosphorus, what we call it as the organic calcium and phosphorus. Okay. Skin and hair renewal can represent up to 35% of an adult dog's daily protein requirement. Even with the dogs of similar body weight, wide variation in maintenance of energy requirements are observed between the two different breeds. Means higher the hair follicle or skin coat, okay, the protein requirement, particularly sulfur-based protein requirement demand is very high. Example, the Great Dane, which requires around 50% more calorie than one would expect simply on the basis of body weight, attributes both at its short, hairy and muscle body mass. So again, they are the general points. Now, what is energy requirements, nutrient requirements? When you say nutrient requirements, so here it is 3 statements you're using. One is minimal requirement, adequate and recommended allowance. See, here we are not at all talking about the, like what we discussed in case of energy requirement, production allowance, lactation allowance, okay, pregnancy allowance. We don't talk here, only we talk about either minimum or recommended. Minimum means it is the minimum concentration of bioavailability nutrients that will support a defined physiological state, below which animal encounter any kind of deficiencies. Okay. Adequate means more than the recommended. Recommended means itna hona hi hona, isse niche ja nahi sakte. That is also minimum, but here it is taking care of some safety limits. Okay. Means RH, the concentration or an amount of nutrients in a diet formatted to support to give a physiological state besides safe upper limit. Okay, that is RE. And all NRC requirements, mostly it is recommended allowance. Okay. So generally in case of what you can say domestic animals, we also talk about BAS standards because they are applicable to the Indian cattle, whatever the nutrient requirement for the different breeds, it is entered. But NRC is applicable whether it's a dog, Indian breed origin, or it's a European or American. Okay. So that's why we don't find any BIS requirement for the dogs. Mostly we follow the NRC requirement as we don't find any financial constraint here. Okay. Energy density determines the food intake in dogs and cats. It is highly essential that diets are properly balanced so that requirements of all other nutrients are met. At the same time, the energy needs are satisfied. That's why we call it as a NRC requirement. This is the NRC requirements. Very, very specifically, you can read out in exam. They may not ask very specifically. Okay. So now let us see one by one. Energy requirement. Daily energy requirement depends upon the amount of energy that body expands each day, which you call it as a body growth, or you can say average daily weight gain. Okay. Here, more than what you can say feed intake, we talk about metabolizable energy, means the energy which is actually absorbed by the dog. Okay. When you say, if you take any feed ingredient, we call it as a grass energy. But if we offer in the form of ration, which contains different ingredients like maize, wheat bran, any cakes, okay. So other supporting or fillers in the ration, okay. When you offer to animal, after deducting the energy which is expelled through feces, then we call it as a digestible energy. And if we extract energy lost through urine, that we call it as a ME. Here ME is more important. Reason is very simple. Even the smallest feed which you offer to dog should be complete, so that less animals are defecated. This is one of the important criteria for making any of the commercial feed for the pet animals, because they don't expect too much of defecation in the apartment. Even if you are staying in independent house, you don't expect that it should defecate 2-3 times a day. Otherwise, it becomes an headache, nuisance to the dog owner, because otherwise either it will defecate within the house or you may have to take for the walk again and again. So that's why whatever the feed offered to the dogs, particularly commercial feeds which we get, pet foods, they are highly dense feeds which are available for the different breeds, because they are all prepared based on the metabolizable energy. The dog is unique that the widest range normal adult body weight, means the toy breeds which may weigh 1 to 2 kg, and the large giant breeds, they may go up to 100 kg. So naturally, you cannot make the same feed for all the dog breeds or for all the stage of life. But still, you can maintain some types of thumb rules. Okay, like what we do, like how much, however, we talk about nutrition. But if you go to village, they follow their own method of feeding, isn't it? They take for the grazing for the whole day. Some people, they may offer concentrate on a token amount basis, like 1 kg every day. Some people may be little educated, or some people who are little bit commercially oriented, they may give concentrate based on the milk production. Okay. So that is with respect to production. But here you cannot have such wide varieties of feed in your home for the single dog. So better to follow some thumb rules, like red point I highlighted. After weaning, growing puppies requires approximately 2 times the energy intake per unit body weight as an adult dog of the same weight. Because this amount should be reduced to 1.6 times and 1.2 times of the maintenance level once puppy reaches 40 and 80% of the adult body weight. Because what we get in the feed in the market, it is for the adult dog. But the same adult feed, if you want to offer to the pups, then you may have to use the thumb rule. Means जब अब छोटा होगा naturally उसका requirement ज़्यादा होगा, 2 times energy requirement उसका जितना भी होगा adult dog का उसका 2 times. वही थोड़ा सा growing stage में होगा तो 1.6 times और थोड़ा सब adult होगा 1.2 होगा. Adult में तो what it is given as per the commercial. Means suppose if it is recommended 500 gram for an adult dog, you'll give 500 gram. But the same feed, if you want to give to the pup of that same breed, then you will give double of the dog. But based on the body weight, it's not that 500 gram for a 30 kg body weight means same thing, double dose, but in a pup weighing 500 gram, half kg, 1 kg, whatever it may be. It's not like a absolute value, what I'm telling. It is based on the body weight. You can see first point. After weaning, growing puppies requires approximately 2 times the energy feed intake per unit of body weight as adult dog. ओके इट इज नॉट लाइक एब्सोल्यूट वैल्यू. यहाँ आपको 500 ग्राम जरूरत होगा तो वहाँ 1 kg जरूरत है, वो नहीं है. 500 kg अगर मान लीजिए 100 kg डॉग के लिए जरूरत होगा तो नेचुरली फिर आपका वहाँ 10 kg का आपका 50 ग्राम का होगा तो आपका 100 ग्राम देंगे, उसका डबल देंगे. तो दिस इज व्हाट इट मीन्स. ओके बट कमर्शियली इफ यू सी देयर आर सो मेनी कंपनीज दे आर मेकिंग feeds for pups, sub-adult, adult, pregnant, like that. Depending upon offering capacity, people can opt it. Most of the commercial feed, they contain corn, okay, followed by any animal source protein, mostly chicken. Additionally, it may also contain wheat flour, rice flour, gluten meal, potato starch, okay, bone meal, and other supplements. But if you take the same thing in case of cattle, generally wheat bran is used, isn't it, as a filler material. So if you take as a 100 kg feed for the cat, okay, so there 20 to 30% maize will be there, 10 to 15% आपका oil cake होगा, right, 2% mineral mixture होगा, 1% salt होगा, ठीक है. बचा हुआ filling material जैसे wheat bran होगा, rice polish होगा, so many things which is used as a filling material to take care of completeness. But here you don't find any of the fiber based feed or feed ingredient in the dog feed, because our main motto is to increase the density of the feed. If you take one pellet weighing 500 gram means it is almost that 5 gram when it is offered to dog, 99.9% of the feed is utilized by the dog. So that's why even if you offer 500 gram this ready-made feed to the dog, the defecation quantity will be only little bit. That 40, what we call it is, it's only small quantity. Commercial feed, if you take, is a thumb rule. It's not necessarily absolutely you can take as it is, but as a thumb rule, 1 to 3 kg weighing dog may require 100 to 250 gram. Okay, 5 kg 350 gram. उसी तरह से 35 to 40 kg dog का requirement जो होगा 1200 to 1600 gram. So now energy needs substantially increases during the gestation. So like what we told previously, this is only for a general statement from puppies, growing, adult. Okay. Additionally, there are some stages where critical pregnancy. There naturally all the requirement, energy and protein both increases. But since we are talking about energy, so that's why we talk about only energy. So here during the first 3 to 4 weeks, it remains the same, but thereafter it starts increasing and becomes around 1.25 to 1.5 times normal maintenance requirement by the end of gestation. Okay. Now lactation is one of the most energy demanding, which you all know it. Okay. So these are all general points you can read out by yourself if everything is clear. Fats. This is really important. Why means, as I told you, smaller the dogs, they enjoy the palatability. At the same time, whatever the feed you offer to the dog should be palatable, otherwise they may not eat. Even commercial feeds, if you take the shapes, color, although they've got poor with respect to color differentiation, but still they make a different shape and color. But to make it palatability, fats plays an important role. Okay? So more importantly, they supply the essential fatties, which very important, particularly for the cat. Okay, a dog it may not be essential. Here fat with respect to palatability is fine, but otherwise in case of cat, which will be discussed later when it comes to exception in case of cat. Okay. So dogs require minimum of 8% or 5% dietary fat on dry matter basis. Okay, which includes mainly the linoleic acid, which is important fatty acid required both for the dog and cat. Additionally, in case of dogs and cats, since they are unable to synthesize linoleic acid, which is mandatory, but in case of cat, arachidonic acid is an additional requirement for the cat, which we will be discussing again later. Next, carbohydrate. So, like first I told you with respect to energy, but here with respect to carbohydrate as an ingredient. Okay. So cereals are the main energy source in the diet pets, which constitutes about 30 to 60% of the dry matter in many of the companion animal diet. Rice and wheat are the most favored cereal source commonly used in the diet. Okay. However, maize, pearl millet, and sorghum can also be used, but they are not on the priority. But in case of commercial feed of cattle, buffalo, sheep, and goat, maize, pearl millet, sorghum, they are used. But here, rice and wheat. That's why I showed you one photograph before also. So there is another one point is that for the sake of fiber, okay, mostly they include moderately fermentable fibers, including wheat pulp. But in commercial feed only they use this one. Otherwise, as a thumb rule, mostly they use rice and wheat only. Next, come to protein. Dogs and cats also require all the essential amino acids, okay, which you know it. Cats have higher dietary requirements. The obligatory endogenous nitrogen loss in cats is nearly twice that of dogs. That's why the protein requirement increases compared to dog. But as a thumb rule, the protein requirement in case of dog is minimum 18%, 22%, but 16 se niche nahi jana chahiye. 22 is very higher side, but all commercial feed, they do maintain 22% crude protein in the diet. So NRC recommends allowance for the total protein for adult dog eats 25 gram per 1000 kg kilo calories. Studies carried out at IVRA is also successfully used soybean. Particularly, some people nowadays they are more of veg origin people also. They don't want to even offer their dog with the commercial feed which contains animal protein. Okay, so that's why IVRA also they have conducted few experiments to replace animal source with the soybean meal and also other lentils and red gram. Okay, so successfully they have done and they are in the process of commercialization. As a protein source, pulses is the main source, which already we told you, like in the previously diagram I have shown it. Okay, vitamins, they are all applicable the way it is applicable for the domestic animals, which I am not going in detail. So both micro and macro minerals are equally essential. However, in case of dog, maybe since beauty is more important, okay, so naturally all the micronutrients related to skin, nails, okay, they play an important role. So that's why all micronutrients are always given as an additional source. In addition to commercial feed, अगर आपको घर में just अपने हिसाब से कभी आप रोटी, कभी दाल, कभी आपने मिल्क देते रहेंगे, तो then you may have to supplement your dog with the micronutrients with respect to minerals and vitamins. Okay, so many commercial products are available. Okay, in case of medium and large dog, calcium and phosphorus plays an important role. In case of hairy breeds, zinc and copper plays an important role. Okay, water I am not going in detail. So there is a uniqueness with domestic animals and companion animals. Like in case of domestic animal, all the time water will be available. As and when they feel thirsty, they go and have the water. But in case of domestic dogs, when you keep them in the home, whatever you offer water in the bowl, okay, sometimes they finish it off, or sometimes it may be spoiled or it may be spilled over. Okay, so that's why dog may not demand water because they are all resistant to thirstiness. Okay, even अगर उनका बहुत water का requirement भी होगा, it may not demand. So that's why you only have to offer the dog water again and again, then only it can take. Unlike domestic animal में उस तरह से situation नहीं होता. This is just example what are the commercial feeds available for the pets and the tentative range or cost of that commercial feeds. So there are some examples. Bruce K may example there because it's most popular. Okay, you can see LPM performance, chicken and egg adult dog, adult super dog, optimum performance. Okay, focus puppy, super dog, medium breed puppy, German Shepherd, Labrador, like that, there are some wide varieties of commercial feeds are available for the dogs. Okay, it all depends upon you what you like. Many people may not prefer very specific diet. Simply they may get a normal adult feed and the same thing they will keep on offering to the dogs. But those who are maintaining dogs for the dog show, those who are maintaining the dogs for the sake of breeding purpose, they are very much concerned. Okay, they will offer the feed, only the puppy feed to their pups. They will offer only the lactation feed to the lactating dog. So they are so particular.